Where are the entrepreneurs that made the sharks hungry? Of all the different ideas that came into the tank, the food ideas are the ones that leave the sharks mouth-watering the most. But that doesn't mean they get investments every time or that the business always ends up being a success. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at the top 3 food pitches ever on Shark Tank. How did these businesses turn out? Did our favorite sharks get their hunger satisfied and their banks full? Let's find out.
Next up is an entrepreneur who has solved a familiar problem.
Andy Schur came into the tank on the 7th episode of Season 11 with a very practical idea that he hoped could help people avoid the messy peanut butter situation. The name of the business was Peanut Butter Pump, which was a product that worked like its name suggested, a pump that looked and worked like an oversized ketchup pump used at hot dog stands. Only this time it's filled with peanut butter and it's designed to get every last drop of that peanut butter out of the jar. Being a father to 3 boys, the Burbank, California native was used to the trouble it took to take peanut butter out of the jar and onto your food without making everything messy. So he came up with the idea of a product that imitates the action of a soap dispenser, preventing that mess. His invention, the peanut butter pump, which is a nozzle attached to a jar of peanut butter dispensing the sticky sandwich spread. This invention wasn't only practical, but also allergy safe, more importantly helping out kids with motor and mobility issues. Prior to coming to the show, Andy had spent many years working as the vice president of funds transfer for California Commerce Bank in 2 different positions for the Associated Foreign Exchange. After getting laid off from the company in 2016, he began to work on the idea for Peanut Butter Pump, which he had come up with a while before. Andy was very confident in that idea, so he began finding ways to raise funds to get that company on the road and was able to launch a pretty successful Indiegogo campaign to make that a reality, and he did pretty well, raising over just $166,000 in the campaign. With a great start, it wouldn't end there. Schur soon got more chances to promote his product when he got attention from Good Morning America in February 2019, but this nutty inventor needed more to fully get his idea into full flow, hence his coming into the tank.
My name is Andy Scherer. I'm asking $200,000 for 15% of the company.
As he comes in with enough food for his pitch, he's announcing to the Sharks he's looking for $200,000 for a 15% chunk of that business. It also looks like he needs help to cover distribution costs. Andy goes on to show the working operation of the pump by pumping the perfect amount of peanut butter onto a sandwich, and also some celery. He would show that the pump was designed to clean the sides of the jar as it dished out consistent amounts of peanut butter. As we can see, each pump of that nozzle distributes 3 teaspoons worth of peanut butter. He would also show the sharks a variety of other nozzles, each with a specific basic butter-related task, and added that the nozzle was designed to fit over the lids of most standard brands.
There's good news here. I am a peanut butter connoisseur.
Wonderful.
Kevin O'Leary, being a self-professed peanut butter connoisseur and the owner of a peanut butter manufacturing company, was the first shark to question Andy. Now, he was worried about the likelihood of chunky peanut butter clogging that device's head. O'Leary pointed out that the oversized dispenser couldn't fit in a refrigerator, meaning it was useless for any other perishable condiment, and also not the best option for people who like to keep their peanut butter cool. Andy would then go to say he hadn't actually made any sales yet. That's right, despite raising that much money through Indiegogo, he had only made prototypes of that peanut butter pump, and the total of $129,000 made through crowdfunding was only in pre-orders. Already his pitch wasn't looking too convincing to these sharks, and it was about to get worse.
Within the coming months, I've already passed the initial promise date. But I've been upfront and transparent about the process.
But you need money to make them, I'm guessing.
I do, I need money.
So you took in the money and you already spent it?
I haven't spent all the money. However, I have withdrawn a little bit of money. That's not really what it's for. But, I mean, I'll go ahead and do this even if I have to sell my house.
Not only had Andy here made no sales, but he also admitted to withdrawing some of those proceeds for personal use and missing his first announced delivery date. When questioned about actual numbers, the peanut butter pump inventor announced that the selling price of each pump was $27, which Robert and Lori think it's a bit on the expensive side. Despite his desperate promise to eventually ship the product soon, Daymond John is the first to tap out, on grounds that he didn't see the invention as an actual problem solver. Lori and Robert followed Daymond's lead, with Herjavec adding that although he appreciated this product, he didn't feel there was enough need for it.
There's no bigger advocate for the commodity than I am, but this price is nuts. Like 200,000, 50%, the whole business isn't worth 200,000 right now. I wish you the best of luck, but I'm out.
Kevin O'Leary bows out as well, despite his interest in this peanut butter community, because he sees Schur's $1.3 million valuation of his company as an overestimation. Finally, Mark Cuban also announced he was out, leaving Andy with no deal. But he definitely still had his confidence in his invention and the presence of a market for it. He was sure to make this clear as he exited this interview. However, for the common peanut butter pump fan, it's been a really long wait for that promise to come true. Since that tank episode aired on November 2019, the entire business has been at a standstill, except for random updates about release information every now and then. Even the company's social media has been stagnant, with the last YouTube and Instagram post coming out in 2019, and the most recent media activity being a post on Facebook in 2020. The company seems to have had a lot of problems with tooling and suppliers, and of course the global pandemic in 2020 didn't really help production. Andy went to put his invention into an extended testing process, spending most of 2022 trying to tweak the pump's designs. By January 2023, Andy landed a business partner, and reports surfaced of the company returning to restructure and redesign the product. Anyone who was waiting for this product to hit the market got the best piece of news so far in September 2023, when Andy announced that peanut butter pump would finally begin shipping in December. The only problem with that is that the announcement also came with the news of a price hike from $27 per pump to $38 for a single pump or $68 for two. The initial $27 was considered expensive by the Sharks back in 2019. It's only expected that the hiking price might put off even more potential customers. But until or if shipping actually takes place in December, we'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. For now though, we can say that the Sharks were right not to make an investment in this food invention. But what about this next one?
First into the tank is an innovative way to add flavor to sandwiches.
When Emily Williams and her husband Cole came into the Shark on Season 12, Episode 10, it was a business idea everyone could relate to. Emily had stumbled upon the slice of sauce a while before the Shark Tank appearance, working on a BBQ sauce recipe from her father, who was a restaurateur from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. She was trying to replicate his sauce recipe as a dry rub, so she and her husband ended up using all parts of the vegetable to avoid wastage. They ended up with something like a fruit leather, which Williams then put in a sandwich, which turned out to be super delicious. So the Williams couple decided to embark on a startup that would enable Emily to share her no-miss condiment to the world. Slice of Sauce was made by converting America's favorite sauces into cheese-shaped, dehydrated slices, which wouldn't have to be refrigerated and have a shelf life of up to 12 months. Pretty impressive, right? The couple started off by raising money for the food product by launching a Kickstarter account in 2018. They were able to get $30,000, but the major challenge was that they were producing each slice by hand and needed a manufacturer to produce those large quantities of these dehydrated slices with a somewhat speedy turnover. So they decided to come onto the famous Shark Tank to get these investors funding into something on a bigger scale.
Hi Sharks, I'm Emily Williams.
And I'm Cole Williams, Emily's husband, and we're seeking $200,000 in exchange for 10% of our business.
The couple from Texas come onto the tank, starting their pitch, seeking out $200,000 for 10% stake in that business of Slice of Sauce. Starting off with a very enthusiastic pitch, the Williams are able to have the Sharks interested almost immediately. The first questions come out soon as the couple announce the financials of their product. A packet of SOS containing 8 slices would cost $5.99. Also, the company was totally pre-revenue after 2 years since the idea and that Kickstarter campaign. Emily defended the steep price of the product, stating that it was made with premium ingredients and as such cost more to produce. The couple then told him that they took out $120,000 of their personal funds. They raised about $500,000 from friends and family and participated in a tech accelerator to get manufacturing up and running.
The complexity here for me is I don't know the need, and is it something that can be made at an affordable price? You don't know yet. So I like the innovation, but I'm out.
It's at this point Barbara Cochran labeled this business venture as magical and dropped out. She was followed by Lori, who also doubted the mere necessity of this product. On the other hand, Kevin O'Leary showed interest, making his first outright offer, $200,000, in exchange for 5% and a 10-cent royalty per package for up to $700,000. That was a very enticing offer, and the couple looked a bit interested for a split second, but didn't have time to consider it before guest shark and baseball player turned investor Alex Rodriguez chipped in his offer.
Just to be clear, Cole and Emily, I'm investing $200,000 as a convertible note, which means if you don't hit the 1.8 in sales, it would stay as debt on the business.
Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
Would there be options for PO financing and lines of credit on top of the 200?
I would consider that, yes.
Okay.
A-Rod here was offering $200,000 as a line of debt for 20% equity when $1.8 million in sales was reached. Mark Cuban was cooking up an offer of his own though, but the Texas couple didn't wait to hear him out and immediately hopped on Rodriguez's offer. Just like Emily and Cole said in the post-appearance recap, you can't pass up a good offer, and we had one. As soon as that episode aired, the slice of sauce business immediately saw a huge spike of interest in the product, particularly on the website. At a point, the couple needed to recruit friends to help answer all these incoming queries. The company announced on Instagram that potential customers could place pre-orders for the product, although they didn't provide a shipping date yet. Months later, the company began shipping out orders but ran out of inventory just 2 months after, with many customers still waiting on those pre-orders. By September 2021, the company made what would have turned out to be its last social media post on Instagram. Without any explanation, the company stopped its operation, despite the couple hiring web developers to improve the speed and functionality of its website. The website had also been shut down. Based on her LinkedIn page, Emily had moved on to co-found an unnamed business in late 2022, and her husband Cole appears to have moved from Texas to Michigan. Slice of Sauce has yet to release an official statement regarding the closure of the business, but it looked like it was mainly manufacturing and shipping issues. Reports also came out the couple complained about cashing in on A-Rod's investment taking time. No official notice has been put up regarding the shutting down of this company, and no rival company seems to have taken up that idea. So it's hard to say if there's ever going to be a comeback for Slice of Sauce. Now it looks like we're 0 for 2 on food pitches for the tank. One of those two went as far as getting an investment. Why don't we see if this last one turned out any different?
First into the tank is a healthier version of a favorite snack.
This time, the business name is Pan's Mushroom Jerky. Founded by Michael Pan and brought into the Shark Tank on Season 12, Episode 6. Michael Pan's a Washington-based entrepreneur coming up with the idea for this business after taking a trip to Malaysia to visit his family in the early 2000s. On his trip, Michael discovered a number of recipes that had been passed down through generations of vegetarian Buddhists. One of these recipes was a snack similar to beef jerky, but made with mushrooms rather than meat. Oh, you heard that right. Having found his inspiration from his ancestors' food traditions, Pan decided to come up with something to share this Southeast Asian cuisine with the rest of the world. He started his food business on the side until he was able to open up his company, Panko Foods, in 2016. 2 years later, he officially launched Pan's Mushroom Jerky.
Pan's is high in fiber and vitamin D. It's paleo, soy-free, gluten-free, and there are just 6 simple ingredients in our original recipe. And all our flavors have their own unique umami taste.
Now, this product's a plant-based snack from shiitake mushrooms and has other simple ingredients like avocado oil, Himalayan pink salt, coconut sugar, and chia seeds. Now, this snack isn't only certified vegan, kosher, and paleo-friendly, but also gluten-free, soy-free, cholesterol-free, high in fiber, and a great source of vitamin D. Clearly, the snack is checking off a significant number of boxes when it comes down to customers and health and lifestyle choices. Only when Michael Pan was sure of all of these and the ability of his product to become a national sensation did he make a move to enter the Shark Tank.
I'd love for you each to take a bite. I have to admit something. That marvelously meaty texture
Really good.
is actually mushrooms.
He would start off his pitch by just handing out a sample of this product and waited until they tried it and said they liked it before he revealed that the marvelous meaty texture they were chewing on was actually mushrooms. Right then and there, you could tell he had their interest, particularly Lori Greiner.
I'm seeking $300,000 in exchange for 10% equity.
The Portland native then announced he was looking for $300,000 in exchange for 10% of his jerky company. After they finished up that jerky, Pan went on to say that the company was making about $620,000 in sales and was expected to do $1.5 million by the end of the year. He also went on to say Pan's Mushroom Jerky had made $300,000 in sales in its first year, which more than doubled to $755,000 in 2019. Despite him adding that the company was operating at a 10% profit margin, the Sharks had heard enough and the bids began coming in. While Damon John announced that he believed the company would take too long to make a profit for him, the other Sharks all wanted to have a bite.
Lori and I want to do is, we think the $300K, we'd love to do that, but we need to see 30% for us. 15% for me and 15% for Lori.
Michael.
Now, before you interrupt, let me just say, this show's not about getting the very best deal. It's about getting the best partner.
Lori Greiner and guest shark Blake Mykoski made the first offer, a joint actually, a $300,000 investment for 15% each. Now that offer would slash Pan's valuation from $3 million to $1 million, but Greiner and Mykoski promised to get the entrepreneur's product in Starbucks nationwide. While Michael's taking his time thinking about the offer, Mark would jump in with a lightning-fast offer of $300,000 for 20%, leaving this entrepreneur in a dilemma of which one to go for.
The equity side is a bit too much that I'm willing to give up. So I don't know if there's a way to
What would we
limit
do?
that. And then Mark, I'd love to work with you also, obviously. Is there any way you'd come down a little bit just to meet me somewhere and I have to negotiate a little bit, 15%? Would that work? And we can get this done and start going.
18, you got a deal.
No, I'll do it
18,
for
you got-
15. I'll
Yes
do it
or
for
no to
15.
18?
You just gave me an offer. You gonna live up to
I'll do it for 15.
After a bit of back and forth of these investors trying to convince Pan to take their deals, Cuban reduced his claim to 18%, prompting Lori to quickly reduce hers to 15%. But it was already too late. The founder of Pan's Mushrooms Jerky took the Cuban deal. And let's just say Lori wasn't happy about that at all. As soon as Michael Pan came out of that tank, he and his team got flooded with more sales than any founder could imagine. In Pan's words, "We expected a sales bump for our mushroom jerky, but what happened after Shark Tank completely blew away our expectations. Remember the $650,000 in sales they had all year? Well, the company sold just as much in the first 24 hours after the show aired, and 4 days later, the online sales skyrocketed to over $1 million. It got so crazy, the rate of sales went up to 375 per minute. Now, thanks to Cuban's extensive experience in working with other companies specializing in consumer packaged goods, the company had continued in a fashion of success years after the Shark Tank appearance. According to the company's website, you can find Pan's Mushroom Jerky in more than 3,500 stores across the U.S. at $8 per 2.2-ounce packs. It even comes in 8 different flavors, including original, zesty Thai, teriyaki, salt and pepper, applewood BBQ, and curry. The company has also launched Whole Foods locations throughout Oregon, Washington, Southern California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii, and is also available at H-E-B throughout Texas. And that's not all. The company's website also provides online orders, variety packs, a subscription service, a rewards program, and recipe suggestions, as well as pushing deals through the Target Circle app and a store set up on Amazon. Even the social media presence of the business is quite profound, with more than 5,000 followers on Facebook, 1,200 on X or Twitter, and over 18,000 on the Gram. To put it as humbly as possible, this jerky business is as successful as can be, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. It's good to see at least one entrepreneur came out making a shark as hungry as ever, giving us one of the show's biggest hits.